Rain tapped against the tall glass windows of Ethan's penthouse as he stared at the city lights below. 1,000 stories unfolding, yet none as haunting as his own. People said time healed everything, but 5 years had passed and the ache only deepened. He had built an empire from nothing, a world of power and precision where emotions had no place. But behind every success there lingered a shadow, the memory of a woman he swore he didn't need. Her laughter had once filled the silent corners of his life, soft and unassuming. Now, even the echo of it could shatter his calm. He remembered that final night like a scar that never faded. Her trembling voice, her eyes filled with both fear and hope, and the moment his pride crushed everything beautiful between them. "There will be nothing between us," he had said. Words he thought made him strong, but in truth they made him empty. Every sunrise since then was a reminder of what he had lost. Not just her, but the man he might have been. He told himself she moved on. He told himself he didn't care. But tonight, as thunder rolled over the skyline, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Restlessness. A sense that destiny was moving again. He didn't know it yet, but life was about to return everything he'd tried so hard to forget. And with it, a truth that would break and heal him all at once. 5 years later, the man who once ruled boardrooms with precision found himself in a small coastal town far from the chaos he had built. Ethan told himself he came for peace, to escape the endless meetings and hollow victories, but deep down, he knew he was running from the ghosts of his choices. The sea breeze carried a calm he hadn't felt in years, yet it only reminded him of her voice, soft and steady, whispering his name as if it still belonged to him. He tried to fill his days with work again, but the silence between conference calls felt heavier than ever. Then one morning, while sipping coffee on his porch, he heard laughter, light, melodic, pure. It wasn't a sound from the city, sharp and forced. It was real. He looked up and saw a little girl running across the lawn of the house opposite his. Her curls bounced with every step, her small hands clutching a toy rabbit, and then he froze. Her eyes, those bright blue eyes, struck him like lightning. They were too familiar, too much like his own. His heart stumbled in his chest. Before he could move, the front door opened and a woman stepped out calling the girl's name. The voice made his world stop. Chloe, she was there. The woman he thought he'd lost forever. Ethan couldn't move. For a long moment he stood frozen on his porch, staring at the woman across the street as if his memories had come to life. Chloe looked different now, stronger, calmer, her smile carrying a quiet confidence that made his chest tighten. The little girl twirled near her, laughter filling the air like music, and in that sound Ethan felt something inside him break. He knew deep down, without any proof, that the child was his. The thought hit him so hard he had to grip the railing to steady himself. All those years he had buried the past, convinced himself he'd done the right thing, and yet here she was, living proof that some mistakes can't be erased. He told himself it was coincidence, that life wouldn't be cruel enough to bring her back just to remind him of everything he'd lost. But the more he watched, the harder it became to lie. He saw the way Chloe brushed the girl's hair from her face, the tenderness in her touch and the strength in her eyes that had once looked at him with love. Every heartbeat whispered the same truth. He had walked away from something priceless. That night, sleep wouldn't come. He lay awake, hearing the laughter from earlier echo through his mind. He knew he couldn't stay hidden forever. Fate had brought them face to face again, and this time running wouldn't save him. The next morning, Ethan tried to act as if nothing had changed, but his world had already shifted. Every sound, every glimpse from across the street pulled him back to the past he had tried to bury. From his office window, he caught sight of Chloe helping the little girl, Sophia, he had learned, to tie her shoes before walking to school. The simple scene pierced him more deeply than any business failure ever could. He wondered how many birthdays he had missed, how many first words he had never heard. The weight of those unspoken years pressed on his chest until breathing hurt. Later that afternoon, as fate would have it, their paths finally crossed. He was returning from the grocery store when Sophia's toy ball rolled toward his feet. He bent to pick it up and heard a voice he hadn't forgotten in 5 years. "Thank you," Chloe said softly. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. The world seemed to slow, and in her eyes he saw every memory, every word he had once thrown away. She gave a polite smile, one that held no anger, only distance. And that hurt the most. Ethan wanted to speak, to apologize, to explain everything he never had the courage to say. But before he could find the words, Sophia tugged her mother's hand and they walked away, leaving him standing there with the ball still warm from her touch and a heart he could no longer control. That night, Ethan sat alone on his balcony, the sound of waves crashing below mixing with thoughts he could no longer silence. For years he had mastered control of markets, of people, of himself, but now one simple encounter had undone everything. He couldn't stop seeing Chloe's face, the calm in her eyes, the way she carried herself like someone who no longer needed him, and that was what shattered him the most. Once she had looked at him with trust and love. Now she looked through him, as if he were just another stranger passing by. He took a deep breath, but it trembled on its way out. He knew he couldn't keep pretending. The next morning he walked across the street, his heart pounding with a fear he didn't recognize. When Chloe opened the door, surprise flickered across her face, quickly replaced by guarded politeness. "Ethan," she said, almost like a question. He swallowed hard, his usual confidence stripped away. "I just wanted to see how you've been." She studied him for a moment, and though her expression stayed composed, her eyes softened slightly. "We've been fine," she said quietly. Before he could reply, a small voice called out, "Mommy!" Sophia appeared, clutching her drawing. When Ethan looked down, his heart stopped. The picture showed 3 figures holding hands, a man, a woman, and a little girl. Beneath it, in careful handwriting, were 3 words that made his world spin. "Me and Daddy." Ethan's breath caught as the words on the paper blurred before his eyes. For a long moment he couldn't speak. The world around him seemed to fade. The waves, the wind, even the sound of his own heartbeat. Chloe froze too, her hand instinctively reaching for the drawing, but Sophia held it tight, smiling up at Ethan with innocent pride. "Mommy said he lives across the street," she said brightly. Chloe's eyes widened, a mix of shock and quiet pain flickering in them. Ethan knelt down, his throat tight, forcing a smile. "It's a beautiful drawing," he whispered, his voice trembling. The child's blue eyes, his eyes, looked into his soul, and for the first time in years he felt something pure. Love without judgment. Later that evening, Chloe came to his door. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then she said softly, "You don't have to feel guilty, Ethan. We're doing fine." But guilt wasn't what consumed him anymore. It was realization. "No," he said, voice breaking. "I should have fought for you. For her." Tears welled in her eyes, years of silence collapsing between them. "It's too late," she murmured. Ethan shook his head. "Maybe, but I won't walk away again." The door between them stayed open, and though forgiveness didn't come instantly, something began to heal that night. For the first time, Ethan didn't feel empty. He finally understood. True strength was never control. It was the courage to love even after breaking,